The doors slam shut, sweat beads on foreheads. People glance at the clock, phones buzzing, voices rising and falling. The pressure in the room is thick. You could almost feel it pushing against your skin. But right in the middle of all this panic, one person stands up with steady eyes, calm voice, and sharp focus. Why do they stand out when everyone else crumbles? What's this rare 3% mindset? And how do they do it? What skills do they have that set them apart from the crowd? Stay with me, because in this video, we're unpacking how you can make those same mindset shifts and show up strong when it matters most. You know that prickly feeling before a big moment? Like when you're about to walk into a job interview, make a presentation in front of the whole class, or even just ask a tough question at the dinner table. Your stomach twists up. Your heart starts pounding like you're running a race, even if you're just sitting still. Your hands might get clammy, maybe your mouth goes dry, your legs bounce under the table. That's your body sounding the alarm. Pressure's here. But what's really going on inside your head and body? Let's start with your brain's ancient alarm system, fight or flight. Think back to cave people. They'd spot a wild animal, and in a split second, their brains would flood the body with chemicals. Boom. Adrenaline races through their veins, muscles tense up, pupils get wide, and all systems switch to survival mode. Fast forward to now, and our brains still haven't evolved much in these moments. The threat might be a tricky exam, or a boss firing off hard questions, not a saber-toothed tiger, but the brain can't tell the difference. It hits the same big red panic button. Here's how it goes. Stressful moments trigger your amygdala, which is like the watchdog inside your brain. It barks loudly, telling your body to pour out adrenaline and cortisol, big-time stress hormones. Suddenly, your body's prepping you for battle or for a sprint. Your breathing gets shallow. Blood rushes to major muscles. Your mind starts searching for a way out. You've seen this in real life, right? Maybe you've watched someone during a live speech. Their voice shakes, eyes dart to the floor, notes start to rustle in their sweaty hands. Or they freeze completely, barely able to remember their own name, let alone their lines. Or at a basketball free throw line, a player stands stiff, staring at the hoop, the crowd roaring. Their mind races with what-ifs, hands trembling a little, every muscle locked with tension. Why do most people stumble when it matters most? Here's the wild thing. All this fight-or-flight drama actually shuts down the very brain parts you need for clear thinking. Your prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logic, planning, good choices, gets hijacked by the wild animal response. You get tunnel vision. You miss what's in the corners. You forget details you knew by heart minutes earlier. Your memory, your decision-making, and even your sense of time go a little haywire. Let's put this in a story. Imagine it's your big day, first ever job interview. You walk in, heart rattling, palms sweating like crazy. The manager asks their first question. Instead of recalling the answer you practiced in the car on the way over, your mind goes blank. All you can think is, don't mess up. Don't mess up. Each second feels longer and longer, the silence stretching. You know the words, but they're locked up out of reach. Or picture a student, 5 minutes into a huge test. The room is silent except for frantic pencil scratches. Suddenly, they can't remember if it's 7 times 8 or 8 times 7 that makes 56. Their thoughts clatter around like marbles on a table. Math facts vanish into thin air. They press harder on the pencil, tapping the eraser, hoping something will spark. Physical things kick in too. When stress hormones surge, your hands can shake, your voice cracks, and your chest might feel tight. Blood pressure goes up. Some people even get tunnel hearing, sounds muffle. And that's not all. Sometimes in high-pressure moments, you act before you think. That's why people blurt out the wrong answer, rush into bad choices, or freeze and say nothing at all. It's not weakness, it's biology. When adrenaline's pumping, your body is literally prepping to run, fight, or hide. Ancient stuff. But here's the twist. In modern life, you can't run away from a math test or fight your interviewer. So, are you stuck with this stress response? Nope. Science gives us clues that we can retrain our brains, even when we can't switch off the body's alarms entirely. Let's talk about a few simple, science-backed ways to reset in the heat of the moment. First, slow breathing. It sounds almost too simple, but taking slow, deep breaths actually trick your body into calming down. When you do this, your brain gets a message. Maybe this isn't danger after all. That slows your heart and relaxes your muscles. Try 4 counts in, hold for 4, 4 counts out. Keep repeating. You'll probably feel your heart start to slow. The shakes settle. Anchoring yourself with the senses can work too. Focus on the feeling of your feet on the floor or the cool air on your skin. Tap your fingertips together behind your back or take note of 3 things you see and hear around you. By doing this, you tell your brain, "I'm safe." Positive self-talk helps, even if it feels cheesy. Instead of saying, "I'm so nervous, I'm going to blow it," flip it. "I'm excited. My body's getting ready to perform." Runners use this all the time. They say, "These butterflies mean I'm gearing up for something great." Another trick? Prepare like crazy, but be ready for detours. Pressure makes people double down on what they already know, even when things change. So, practice different scenarios at home. If you're prepping for a test, try quizzes with tricky twists. If it's a speech, force a friend to interrupt you or ask a weird question, so you learn to bounce back quickly. But let's make it even more real. Take Simone Biles, the Olympic gymnast. In the Tokyo Olympics, she felt her brain freeze under the weight of massive expectations. She described feeling the twisties, a disconnect between mind and body that left her lost in midair, a terrifying moment for anyone, especially at her level. She stepped back, took deep breaths, and used grounding techniques, not to win, but to protect herself. Her honesty helped others see that even the best can get overwhelmed, and that pressing pause is okay. Or think about a firefighter charging into a burning building. Their training drills those stress management tricks into muscle memory, breathing steadily, checking gear by feel, repeating calm mantras like, "one step at a time." Even when everything screams panic, these habits keep them moving smart. Sometimes it's as simple as changing how you view stress. Kelly McGonigal, a health psychologist, says, "If you believe stress is helping you rise to the challenge, your body actually performs better." That little mental shift lowers the harmful effects. So next time your heart races, try whispering, "My body's helping me get ready." It sounds small, but this retrains your brain over time. Curious how pressure affects sports? Watch a penalty kick in soccer. The entire stadium holds its breath, millions of eyes on one person. Some players soar under that pressure, others stumble. What's the secret difference? We'll dig into that more soon. But the truth is, everyone gets nervous. Pressure can swallow us if we're not careful, but it's not our fault our bodies react like this. It's ancient, hardwired, and it happens to even the very best now and then. The key is learning to spot it, understand it, and, most important, train our minds to use it, not be ruled by it. But that wasn't even the strangest part. Some people seem to flip a switch when pressure shows up. Instead of shrinking, they grow sharper and faster. Why is that? What makes those rare few, the top 3%, harness this pressure and turn it to their advantage? In our next section, let's dive into the brain science and break down the habits that set them apart, because you can learn them too. So the big question is, what are those top performers doing differently in those heart-pounding moments? You've probably seen it. A quarterback reading the whole field in a single blink, a doctor making a snap call in the ER, a musician hitting every note even as the crowd roars. These folks seem to step into chaos and find their balance. Let's break down what's actually happening in their brains and daily routines. First, let's talk about one of their secret weapons: visualization. When champions prepare for high-stakes moments, they don't just practice the motions. They close their eyes and imagine the whole event in extreme detail. That Olympic sprinter? She's not just thinking about running fast, she's picturing the gun going off, the blocks pushing against her shoes, the curve of the track, the crowd's noise, even the shape of her breath as she sprints. Before it happens, she's already lived it hundreds of times in her mind. That's no small thing. Brain scans show that vivid visualization can actually trigger the same parts of the brain as real action. So, when the moment arrives, the brain thinks, "Hey, I know this. I've done it before." And with that, more of the body and mind steps up instead of freezing. Let's make this concrete. Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps credits visualization as one of his secret tools. He'd sit quietly and run through every stroke of his race, From the feel of his muscles straining in the water, to the burst of cold as he dove in, to the way his goggles sometimes leaked mid-lap. Once, in a real Olympic final, his goggles actually did fill up with water. But because he'd rehearsed that crisis in his mind, he just kept going, counting his strokes, finishing by feel, and he won gold. When you've seen yourself push through disaster 1,000 times in your head, you react with calm in real life. Controlled breathing is another tool. Navy SEALs call it box breathing. It's simple. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Over and over. It calms the nervous system, brings the heart rate down, and helps the brain regain control when adrenaline surges. Watch a pro basketball player before a free throw. They close their eyes, take a set breath, and block out the noise. That slow, steady inhale and exhale, it's not just a habit, it's science at work. Want to try it right now? Close your eyes and imagine you're sitting at the edge of a busy street. Everything is buzzing and noisy. Now inhale for 4 seconds. Hold. A pause just long enough for your heart to catch up. Exhale, slow and steady. Hold again. Even with just one cycle, you'll probably notice a tiny shift inside, like someone turned down the volume on all that chaos. Cognitive flexibility is another big one. The best thinkers under pressure aren't stubborn about their plans. They don't lock up when things go sideways. Instead, they pivot. Let's say you're a firefighter entering a burning house. Your training says the fire should be on the right, but all your senses tell you it's moved to the left. Average folks might freeze or stick with what they expected. Top 3% performers listen to those new signals and adapt. They move their team, adjust their search pattern, try something new. Their brain can switch gears fast, which is pure gold in a crisis. A real-life example comes from the cockpit. In 2009, pilot Chesley Sully Sullenberger faced a bird strike seconds after takeoff. Both engines died. With alarms blaring, flight computers screaming error, and 155 lives depending on his next move, he didn't panic or just follow the book. He assessed, accepted that making it back to any airport was impossible, and calmly glided the plane to a safe landing in the Hudson River. His co-pilot said afterwards, "We never stopped communicating, we just focused on the next right step." It's that mental gear shift, the willingness to abandon routine and improvise, that lets top performers beat the odds when things go sideways. Why does this work? Enter the Yerkes-Dodson law. It says that a little bit of pressure, just enough stress, actually boosts performance. Too little and you're bored. Too much and you're overwhelmed. There's a sweet spot, like the perfect level of tension on a guitar string. Real-world studies back this up. In a big hospital test, new doctors were tracked as they ran through simulated emergencies. Those who kept calm with a medium level of stress did better than those who were either too chill or locked up with anxiety. Now let's talk about mental habits. Reframing setbacks might sound like just putting a positive spin on things, but there's heavy science behind it. When things go wrong, instead of thinking, "I failed, I'm no good at this," top performers think, "That's feedback, I can tweak my approach." This mindset turns disaster into learning fuel. Next time, they adjust and get stronger. Listen to how Simone Biles, Olympic gymnast, handles mistakes. Instead of melting down after a fall, she'll say, "It's just data. Now I know what to fix." That simple shift, from beating yourself up to seeing every setback as a teacher, builds grit over time. And neuroscientists have found that this kind of reframing can literally rewire your brain, boosting optimism and long-term resilience. Micro-recoveries are another habit. Brain surgeon Dr. Sanjay Gupta talks about a pause and reset moment in the operating room. He takes a single deep breath before a critical cut, clears his mind for half a second, then starts. That tiny break keeps his thinking sharp. Soldiers do this too. They're trained to scan, pause, breathe, and then act, never to just rush straight into decisions on pure adrenaline. Let's talk about pattern recognition. It's the reason an experienced chess grandmaster can spot a trap with one glance, or a seasoned pilot can spot danger signals in a cockpit full of switches. By seeing a ton of situations and soaking in all the details over and over, the brain builds shortcuts, almost like a cheat code for future choice-making. Under pressure, they don't freeze. Their brains say, "I've seen something like this before," and they know what to do. How do you practice these skills in regular life? It's simpler than you think. Pick one stressful thing, like answering a question in class or having a tough talk with a friend, and take a moment to visualize it first. Close your eyes. Picture the words, the feelings, the setting. Then, before you actually talk, take one slow box breath. You'll notice your nerves starting to melt. The more you do it, the smoother it gets. Building composure takes practice, not just talent. Try micro recoveries in your day. Before you answer your phone in the middle of chaos, pause for a second, take a breath, and mentally reset. Next time you're in a heated conversation, focus on pattern recognition. Notice the words, the tone, the emotions that come up over and over. Take note. Is this the same pattern as last time? Do you keep bumping into the same problem? When you see it, step back and shift your approach. It's not magic, it's daily work. Start keeping a journal and write down how you handle stress each day, what helped, what didn't, how it felt. Over time, you'll see those tiny improvements stack up. One day, you'll realize you handled a difficult moment in stride, something that might have made you panic a year ago, because your brain has built those fast response pathways. Want a challenge? Next time you catch your mind racing with what-ifs or self-doubts, try reframing just one negative thought. Swap, "I can't handle this," for "I'm learning how to handle this." Sounds tiny, but it changes your whole outlook over time. The small shift can feel like a light turning on in a dark room. Suddenly, you see possibilities where you'd only seen problems. But that's not all. We haven't even scratched the surface of how these habits play out in the real world. When lives are on the line, when success or failure comes down to a single choice, how do real people, firefighters, athletes, doctors, ordinary folks, show that rare calm when it counts? The answer's coming next, and you might be surprised to find you're closer to the 3% mindset than you think. So, what happens when the pressure's on, the stakes are high, and there's no time to think? Stay tuned, because the next part will dive straight into those gripping stories. Let's dive into those make-or-break moments you rarely get to witness up close. The people with the rare 3% mindset show us something incredible when the heat is on. They're not just lucky, they're proof that mindset, training, and habits can change everything. Let's walk through a few, step by step, and pay close attention to what they do in the pressure cooker. Picture the smoke swirling inside a burning building. The alarm screams, lights flash, radios crackle. You hear the frantic calls. Someone's trapped in a back bedroom, and time's running out. Most people would freeze, their minds stuck on, what if I get lost? What if the roof collapses? But a firefighter with the 3% mindset does something different. Let's follow Captain Jordan. She feels the heat, but keeps her breathing steady, running through a mental checklist. Helmet secured, mask tight, hose at the ready. She talks herself through every step. Left hand on the wall, count the doors, check for heat with the back of my hand. She hears a teammate coughing, smoke thickening, and instead of panicking, she shifts plans. We go around. The flames moved. Plan B. Her jacket's hot as an oven. Sweat pours down her back. Her heartbeat hammers inside her ears. But with each inhale through the mask, she repeats the steps she drilled 100 times. She remembers a drill where everything went wrong and how she learned to relax her shoulders and focus on what she could do in the moment, not the disaster spiraling in her imagination. In that choking, blind darkness, she finds the trapped girl and guides her out. That rare calm is learned, not luck. The next morning, when reporters ask her, "How did you stay so clear-headed?" she shrugs and says, "Training and breathing." But here's a detail you might not know. Captain Jordan wasn't always calm. Her first year on the job, she panicked during a routine drill and missed a turn in a fake smoke maze. She still remembers her instructor pulling her aside, saying, "Confidence doesn't come from thinking you'll never mess up. It comes from messing up and then realizing you're still standing." That moment became her anchor. Whenever her mind races, she recalls that early lesson and feels her feet on the ground again. It's the small failures, practiced safely, that gave her an edge in real emergencies. Now let's go to a track stadium, packed, roaring, lights bright as day even at night. An Olympic sprinter crouches at the starting line. The gun fires, but false start. He's disqualified, or so he thinks. His mind races. Did I mess up my last chance? The judge waves him back. A second chance. That break would shatter most people, but watch closely. He steps back, closes his eyes, and blocks out everything. The breath, the shake of the arms, the feeling of shoes on the starting blocks. He's visualizing success, just like in practice. He whispers, "You've trained for this. You're ready." The second gun fires, and he bolts off, running not from fear or shame, but with focus burned into his mind. In interviews later, he says, "The reset saved my race." Dig a little deeper into this athlete's routine, and you'll find something surprising. At every practice, before a sprint, he sits quietly for a full minute. Coaches thought it was odd. "Shouldn't you be warming up?" they'd ask. He'd nod, but say, "I need this headspace. If I can find quiet here, on a muddy local track, I'll find it anywhere." That stubborn little habit became his secret weapon. Even after the worst days or the biggest mistakes, he says, "I go back to the breath, to the silence. It never fails." Or step into a hospital ER, bright and buzzing all night. Alarm beeps, phones ring, 3 ambulances show up at once. Nurse April faces a wall of decisions, a patient with no pulse, another in pain, family members crying out for information. It's chaos. But she scans the room, notes her priorities, rips open gloves, and pulls in her breath. She straightens her badge, tells herself, one patient at a time. Breathe. She glances at the clock and gives instructions in a clear, calm voice. Not because she doesn't feel stress, but because she's trained to ride it. April later says, "The routines are my anchor. I use a short checklist, focus on what I can control, and let the noise fade." In fact, April keeps a tiny notepad in her pocket where she writes down 3 things after every shift: what went well, what she struggled with, and one thing she hopes to do better. She jokes that it's therapy in a pocket, but admits it's what stops bad days from turning into bad weeks. When she teaches new nurses, she repeats, "You're not robots. Feeling scared means you care, but focus on the next best step." What about a parent, right at home? The pressure here isn't life or death, but it's real. Dinner burns, siblings fight, everyone's yelling about homework. Dad's first instinct is to yell back, but he stops. He listens for the feeling under the words: fear, frustration, feeling ignored. He lowers his voice, crouches down until he's eye level with the kids, and asks, "What's really going on?" The room softens. He puts on some quiet background music, and suddenly, homework gets done. Later, he says, "Active listening and empathy. That's the key. It's not easy, but it works." Pulling back the curtain a little, you discover that this parent came from a family where arguments always meant shouting. Breaking that chain took years, but every time he pauses to listen instead of yell, he's rewriting the story. He says, "I started journaling after bad nights. It feels silly, but seeing my own words on the page keeps me honest. Little by little, I react less, listen more." That ripple, he believes, will someday change how his own kids solve problems too. In all these stories, one thing stands out. It's not about being unshakable or emotionless. Each person feels the heat, but chooses to focus on what matters most in the mess. They lean on routines, deep breathing, focused attention, and empathy. Start to notice, in big headlines and your own life. The calm leader during a crisis at work. The friend who talks you down when things fall apart. The teenager who keeps their cool during a test when everyone else panics. They pause, breathe, and shift toward solutions while emotions run wild around them. Sure, sometimes it comes from years of practice, but often it's the small daily habits that add up to big moments, like practicing micro-recoveries, journaling about setbacks, or catching yourself before you react in anger. Think about a time you handled pressure way better than expected. Maybe you stuck up for yourself in a hard conversation, or stayed helpful when everyone else lost their heads. That taste of rare clarity? It's not far away. The skills are there, waiting to be practiced. The only question is, are you willing to collect them, one habit at a time? But that's not the end. Now, it's your turn. How can these simple, powerful strategies become a part of your toolkit? How do you train your mind to be that 3% under pressure, no matter where or when? Let's break down exactly how to start making these habits your own. And if you think it's only for heroes, wait till you see what happens when anyone gives it a try. You're probably wondering, where do you even start? Is this something you're born with, or can you actually train your mind to be one of the rare 3% who rise under stress? Here's some good news. These skills are absolutely trainable. Even better, you don't need fancy tools or a special background. You just need a plan, some simple exercises, and a little curiosity about your own mind. Let's start with box breathing. It sounds fancy, but it's used by everyone from Navy SEALs to therapists, athletes to high schoolers about to take finals. Here's how you do it. Inhale through your nose for 4 slow counts. Hold your breath for 4 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 4 counts. Hold empty for 4 counts. That's it. Picture a square. Each side is 4 beats. You can do it anywhere. At your desk, in the car, right before an important phone call, or sitting quietly in a bustling lunchroom. When you feel your heart hammering or thoughts spinning, try a few rounds. Notice how your shoulders drop and your brain starts to quiet down. That tiny pause is your reset button. To see this in action, let's peek into the world of Olympic gymnast Simone Biles. Right before her routines, she's been spotted shutting her eyes for a few moments, practicing a slow box breath, blocking out the noise of the arena. Her coach once said, "That's Simone's way of making the crowd disappear. The trick is in the breath." Now she's not so different from a student in a busy cafeteria, blocking out the class chatter before a big test. It's all about using breath to turn chaos into calm, no matter where you are. Can you feel the difference when you take a breath like that? It's like the room shrinks until only you and your goal are left. Now let's talk about visualization. This is about picturing what you want before you do it. Not just hoping, but creating a mini movie in your mind. Take a big challenge coming up, a presentation, a test, even a tough conversation. Sit down, close your eyes, and walk through every detail. What do you see, hear, feel? Picture yourself nailing the key points, answering questions smoothly, smiling and shaking hands at the end. The more details you include, the more real it feels to your brain. Research shows that even practicing in your mind creates new brain pathways, making the real moment smoother. Athletes and performers do this all the time, but you don't need a gold medal to use it. Try it before your next tricky moment and see the difference. Picture this. Sarah, a shy 10th grader, had to give her first speech in front of her class. She was so nervous she couldn't sleep. The night before, she decided to give visualization a try. She closed her eyes and imagined standing at the front, seeing her teacher smile, her classmates nodding. She pictured herself speaking clearly, feeling her feet steady on the floor, hearing her voice echo. Sarah even imagined that feeling of relief when the class clapped at the end. The next morning, she was nervous, but she said it felt like doing something she'd already practiced. That's the true power of visualization. It tricks your mind into thinking you've already succeeded. Building resilience is next. This sounds huge, but it starts with tiny actions. Journaling your setbacks and reframing them. Instead of seeing a mistake as proof you're not good enough, write about what you learned. Ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in my situation? Be gentle. Then, when another challenge pops up, you'll find you worry less and bounce back quicker because your brain has proof that you survive and learn. Let's make this concrete. Maybe you bomb a quiz at school or a work project doesn't go to plan. Grab your journal and write down 3 things you learned, even if they're small. Maybe you learned to ask for help earlier or to double-check your calculations, or just that you actually care about getting better. Each entry makes your mind see growth, not just failure. And if you're thinking, I'm too busy to journal, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Take 60 seconds, jot down the mistake, then scribble one way you might do it differently next time. That act alone says, I grow. Next up, trigger your focus with routines. High performers don't wait for motivation. They set up cues that flip their brain into work mode. Maybe it's a song you play before you study, or a lamp you turn on at your desk, or a specific snack while you brainstorm. Over time, your brain connects those cues with deep focus. Suddenly, when you hear the familiar playlist, you slip more quickly into work mode and distractions slide away behind you. Picture the workspace of author Stephen King. He starts writing his novels every morning at the same desk, with the same cup of tea, the same music. He said this ritual tells his mind, Time to dream with my eyes open. Try this. Pick a simple routine for your toughest task. If you struggle with homework, light a certain candle and put on instrumental music before you even open your books. The smell, the sound, the routine, it tells your brain time to focus. It's your mind's version of a warm-up lap before a race. The last major tool? The what-if reversal exercise. When anxious thoughts crowd in, flip the question. Instead of, what if I mess up? Try, what if I succeed? What if this leads to something great? Say it out loud or write it down. This shift creates brand new options in your brain and dials down worry. Voice your doubts and then reply to them like a coach would. For every worst case, come up with a best case. It helps you see the pressure moment as a possibility, not just a threat. This is actually a trick used by sports psychologist Michael Gervais, who's coached Olympic teams and NFL stars. He tells his athletes, when your mind shouts, "What if you choke?" Answer right back, "What if I play the best game of my life?" You can almost see the tension drop from their faces as they imagine something good instead. Try speaking this out loud. It feels weird, but it's a game changer. Let's string all this together with an example. You have a big exam next week. Here's the plan. The night before, you visualize the room, the test, even the feeling of writing your name. Before bed, you do 3 rounds of box breathing. In the morning, you light your focus candle and listen to 20 minutes of calm music. No lyrics, just a steady beat. As worries pop up, what if I flunk this? You write them down, and then next to each you write, what if I remember more than I think? What if this is the start of doing better? When the test begins, you pause, take a breath, and jump in with a mind that's already practiced all of this. Don't just take my word for it. Try this with your own challenge. Maybe you're auditioning for a part in a play or competing at a sports event. Picture the moment, set up your cues, and flip the script on your inner voice. Notice how, bit by bit, your nerves turn into a focused energy. And if you slip up, grab that journal and capture what you learned. Over time, you'll see a pattern. Facing pressure stops being scary and starts feeling a little bit exciting. A sign you're growing. These habits aren't just for big events. Use them daily. Box breathing before making a hard phone call, visualization before sports tryouts, journaling after a tough shift at work, focus cues before reading a hard chapter. What if? Flips every time a scary thought tries to sneak in. Over weeks and months, these tiny acts stack into something huge, a sturdy mind that's less rattled by pressure. But here's the real secret. You don't need to wait until you're ready. The rare 3% start practicing these before they need them, so that pressure becomes their proving ground, not their downfall. Each time you use a tool, you build a little more trust in your own grit. So, what happens when you embrace these tools and make them part of your life? Little by little? Can you really turn scary pressure into steady power? One more step, and you'll see how pressure can actually become your superpower. You've seen the science, the habits, and the real-world stories. Now it's time to bring it all home. Here's a simple truth. Pressure is a part of life you can't run from, but you can decide how to face it. The way you frame it in your mind can turn a tough moment into your biggest opportunity for growth. Think about it. Most of the happiest, most successful people aren't those who never feel stress. They're the ones who've learned to harness it. They see pressure as the push they need to level up, to learn new skills, and to prove to themselves what they're really made of. Every famous athlete, entrepreneur, artist, or changemaker you've ever admired, they've been there, nervous, doubting, stuck between staying safe or rising up. But instead of backing down, they saw pressure as a teacher. Just look at Serena Williams before a championship match. She's admitted, "I still get butterflies every time." Or think about J.K. Rowling writing in tiny cafes, wondering if anyone would ever read her stories. The pressure almost made her quit, but instead, it pushed her to keep going. These moments of tension are usually where the story takes a turn. Try this next time you feel your heart pounding or your hands shaking. Consider it a signal, not a warning. Take one slow, deep breath. Ask yourself, what exactly is this moment trying to teach me? Maybe you're about to try something new, giving a speech, joining a club, standing up for someone in trouble. That tight feeling in your chest is simply a sign that you care and that you're stretching beyond your old limits. Do something concrete this week. Set one small challenge that takes you out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's raising your hand in class when you're usually quiet, or starting a conversation with a new coworker. Maybe it's telling your family what you really think, or signing up for a class in something scary and entirely new. Before you dive in, use the habits we've talked about. Visualize it, breathe deeply, set up a focus cue, and flip your what if worries. Treat it like a mini experiment, not about perfection, but about learning how you respond. And remind yourself, it's okay to feel awkward or anxious. This is just part of the process. Afterward, don't just rush on to the next thing. Take a moment to reflect. How did you grow? Did you learn something about your own courage or creativity? Pressure forges confidence little by little. You might surprise yourself at how strong and clear-headed you can actually be when things are intense. It's like discovering a new tool in your toolbox, one you didn't realize you had until you needed it. Here's a practical tool to carry with you: the pause and name technique. When a stressful moment hits, freeze for just a second and name what you feel out loud, even just to yourself. I'm anxious right now. Or, I'm excited but nervous. Then, take a single box breath. This trick isn't about pushing away the feeling. It's about accepting it and giving your mind a chance to reset. Most people power through bad days on autopilot, missing their own warning signs. You're choosing to step up, pause, and own your story. If you stumble or feel like you fumbled the challenge, remember, so does everyone else. Every superstar, every thoughtful leader, every brave friend you know has had a moment where pressure nearly knocked them flat. What makes them different isn't that they dodged hard moments, but that they showed up anyway and made pressure their training ground. Even when you fall short, you're gaining valuable experience that'll help you the next time. The most powerful shift you can make starting now is to stop seeing pressure as the enemy and start treating it as energy. Next time you sense it, greet it. A sign you're alive, you're trying, and that the moment actually matters to you. As you move forward, notice these moments. Share your wins, big or tiny, with someone you trust. Write them down. Mark them on your calendar. When you feel the urge to chicken out, remember these victories. Proof you've already handled pressure, and you can do it again. Don't forget to celebrate those small wins. Sometimes, just recognizing you pushed through is the spark you need to tackle the next challenge. Let those moments remind you that what feels overwhelming today might be your stepping stone tomorrow. Over time, you'll see pressure less as a threat and more as a chance to shine. So what else don't we know about our own strength until the storms hit? How many hidden skills come awake just when things get tough? You're more capable, creative, and calm than you think. Use that pressure as a doorway, not a wall. And the next time it finds you, at school, at home, in sports or work, let it remind you, growth is just on the other side.